Yeah, let's talk about this, because it's something we kind of like, it came up naturally as we were playing Ladiva, and I kind of wanted to, I thought it would maybe be good to make like a whole concentrated video about this. I have already kind of done the inverse in this, in why I talked about why, like, if there's any character in the roster that we had to agree was going to be top tier forever, as much as people might not want to hear it, just because, like, people are very sick of Belial, very understandably so, don't get me wrong, but if there's any character that I would pick on the roster to be like, he's going to be top tier for 6 years, it probably would be this asshole, right? Now, again, should any character be top tier for 6 years? Probably not. But, like, oh well, right? They have the bias, right? Season 2 is coming up. Belial's probably not getting nerfed there either. All we can pray is that he doesn't get significantly buffed, right? We'll see. But, you know, because, and the reason for that being that, essentially, in my opinion, Belial is good because he can do everything pretty well, but he is not necessarily, like, he's not a super jagged character design, is the words that I usually like to use for it, right? In the sense that, like, I mean, the topic of this video is why, for example, you would really hate the game way more than you maybe currently do if, like, that lady over there was top tier, right? Like, people will make jokes a lot of the times about
incredibly smart and attractive.
Loot FTC, thanks for the prime, man. Much appreciated. Loot's like a musical instrument. That shit is fancy. But yeah, like, you know, people sometimes make a joke about, like, oh, they're gonna buff Belial in all of these different ways and whatnot. And sometimes people will jokingly say, like, oh, they're gonna give him, like, Ladiva SPD next patch, right? And if that sounds insane to you, if Belial with his whole toolkit and like real looping 50-50 mix off of command grab, even if it is risky, if that sounds dumb to you, people often ask me why I always say, like, oh, they gotta be careful with Ladiva, even though I play Ladiva. I'm like, I love Ladiva, you gotta be careful with her. I don't expect too many buffs, right? I understand why they, like, when they buffed her in this patch, they nerfed her as well. They gave her, like, counterbalancing stuff. I understand why there's these giant holes in her kit where her game plan just, like, doesn't work in the mid-screen. It's not the most fun thing. Ladiva's very fun, though. But, like, I get why, because Ladiva has this, okay? I'm sorry. Ladiva has this thing right here, which is up there for best moves in the game, just period. Like, ignore the fact that it's on Ladiva, and think for a second about just SPD in a vacuum, right? Think about this move in a vacuum, right? It's huge. It's like 4 times the size of the regular throw or something. It's like the size of her backdash, right? It's huge. It's unblockable. It builds her like 20 meter when she lands it, and it loops back into itself. And some versions of it now do 6,000 damage on hit, right? This does 5,650, and if you have the buff up, it does 6,200, which is more than most SBA's non-technical input, right? It is risky, that's correct, but most offense in this game is designed in such a way that, like, you have to take on big risk to do anything. But this game essentially, like, does not let you, like, you don't have to learn a lot of the game playing Ladiva because this move is so broken that it carries you so hard. However, because they gave her this, she pays in so many ways for the crime of having this broken ass move, right? She's quite slow, she has a very bad reversal, if you can even call this thing a reversal, right? She's got quite bad neutral, her 6XL is on the lower end of the cast for sure, right? They even, like, as they tried to tilt her more towards SPD, they nerfed her mid-screen. Now, Ladiva still has some of the best mid-screen in the game, let's not get too twisted, right? But, like, they really do care to, like, give Ladiva these big holes in her offense. Her, like, main pressure tool is borderline reactable. This is the shit they don't tell you about, right? But, like, when you fight, like, really good players, Ladiva H headbutt is 17 frames and it glows orange, right? This thing is borderline reactable with MDP. It's real tough. It's real tough. But, like, if since it is essentially the only way Ladiva can run, like, safe plus on block pressure outside of the corner, I've had people MDP this like 70% of the time that I do it. Tiempo is one, like, really bad offender of this, right?
Get grabbed,
point being, that
nerd.
they gave Ladiva these gigantic holes in her game plan because they gave her this broken ass move. When I say that you would really hate the game if Ladiva was top tier, the point is that Ladiva's design intrinsically prevents her from being top tier. By virtue of, is Ladiva neutral even that bad with 2 MJMs? She's got some good buttons. It's damn true, right? She's got some good buttons. But even then, they're not, like, best in slot type buttons. Her 2M is quite nice, right? 2M is quite nice, and it does convert pretty nicely, right? But the, like, very slow move speeds and in general, not super great set of pokes besides these. Which, again, 4M is okay. 2M is quite, this is a damn good button, right? This is a damn good button. But again, general lack of mobility, forward walk speed, back walk speed, dash speed, a bad 6XL makes it a little bit tough for her, right? Like, she does in general end up a lot of the times kind of like trying to rob her way through neutral with lariats. But point being, that Ladiva's design inherently prevents her from being like a top tier character, because at the end of the day, no matter how explosive you are as a character, consistency, when we talk about top tier, we talk about tier lists, we talk about playing at high level, we talk about playing in tournaments, we talk about playing an Archetypal tour, we talk about beating like 20 people in a row, right? Consistency is king in a game, in fighting games in general, and in a game like this too, where there is no like Nier anymore, right? There is no just like goddess of the game that destroys everything. So when no one is like towering over everyone else like that, it really does become about consistency, which is why, for example, Belial is one of the best characters in the game. Catalina is one of the best characters in the game. There's other factors to it. There are parts of their kit where they're jacked up, right? But like, it really is just the fact that like, you are never going to lose because you are playing Belial, right? At no point, if you're like, this is why I say like, again, Belial he doesn't carry anyone, but he's a good character. He doesn't carry anyone though, right? His big thing is like, he just has all the tools you could ever possibly need, and it's up to you to use them well, right? You're never gonna lose because you're like, ah, man, damn, if only I wasn't playing Belial, that situation would have gone better for me, right? Whereas, sometimes, you're going to win, and you gotta be like, holy shit, Ladiva is stupid. Like, why can this character do, I don't know, right? Like this, right? Oh, hold on, bad at the 720. But like, you know, why can this character do this? Holy shit, I didn't deserve that win. I only won because I was playing Ladiva, right? Like, for all 5 of you, yeah, that's that good shit. Like sometimes, you know, you just hit someone for like this, by the way, on no break points, it's like 10,000 damage, right? So like, sometimes you're gonna win, and you're like, I only won that because I was playing Ladiva. But also, sometimes you're gonna lose because like, you were running your offense and whatever, and you happen to like command grab for the kill, and they guessed correctly, and you died, right? And the character inherently is a slot machine. So, if her design inherently prevents her from being top tier because she's so inconsistent, then what do I even mean when I say you would hate a top tier Ladiva? Well, the only way to make a character like this top tier is either jack up their strengths so incredibly high that the weaknesses no longer matter. This is an insane example, but I do like to use extremes to prove a point. Imagine if this, right? Just imagine if this did 20,000 damage, right? If this did 20,000 damage, or even better, imagine if this did 20,000 damage, right? Obviously, that's never going to happen, but just stick with me. If Ladiva's light SPD did 20,000 damage, guess what? It doesn't matter that her neutral is pretty bad, or that her defense is right? Or that she doesn't really have like a good brave counter or throw bait, or that she's, you know, reversals are pretty tough for her, and backdash kind of beats the shit out of her, and that she doesn't really function as a character like outside of the corner, but like it's hard for her to get you to the corner sometimes, because it can be hard for her to find that hidden neutral. Shut the fuck up, right? Silence, Ladiva player. Everyone else playing Grand Blue player, which would be 0 people, everyone would drop the game, is speaking, right? If this did 20,000 damage, guess what? It doesn't matter. Ladiva's top 1. Now, of course, it doesn't have to do 20k, but my point is that one of the ways to make Ladiva top tier would be to buff her strengths so insanely that the weaknesses essentially don't matter, which I hope I don't need to explain in like big, say for example, this did 6k instead, which is like, still insane, never gonna happen. But if we're talking about a top 1 grappler, maybe. Say this did 6k, right? So she actually killed the entire cast in 3 guesses that work in the mid-screen, and they looped in on themselves. Like, when I do this, and I can do this, and you're another 50-50, right? And if you guess wrong 3 times, you die, and, you know, guess what? Her strike damage still does about 6k in that exact same situation, right? So in that case, again, suddenly it, like, doesn't matter. Because Ladiva genuinely needs to win, like, once, and then you are immediately in Hellworld. That's one way, and again, I hope it's clear why that would not be a good balancing, right? And again, you can't like make they buffed the damage on the command grab, didn't really matter. You can't like give her little buffs and make her top tier because of the way her design works. So you have to break through the limiter. The other way would be to remove her weaknesses, right? Give Ladiva like really good neutral, maybe like some better pressure that's like better at baiting BC and backdash and brave counter and things like that, right? Make her faster, right? Maybe give her like a projectile or something, right? Like just take all of the weaknesses in her kit away. The fact that, she has to, like, that she's always forced to approach, even in matchups where that's not good. Give her something to do at full screen. Okay, what have we done then? Well, we've given Belial SPD, is what you've done, right? Like, you either have to remove her weaknesses, or you have to buff her strength so absurdly that there is no game anymore, right? And that the reason that, you know, this doesn't apply to someone like Belial is that Belial has no glaring hole. He is not designed with a glaring hole in her kit, in his kit, right? Quite the opposite, in fact. The whole design of Belial is that there is no hole. That he's just, well, yes, I laugh it up. But like, the whole design of Belial is that there is no hole, right? He is just pretty damn good at everything. That's why he's good. Because Ladiva's intrinsic design is one of extremes, there is no way to make that balanced, right? I mean, you can try, right? Mid-tier grapplers exist. Some people will argue Ladiva is one. She's not. But, like, people in Ladiva's current state, some people tell you this character is secretly broken, right? These Ladiva players, they're just bad, they're downplaying. Trust me, bro, this character's broken. I've heard, like, 2 people, not a lot, but, like, over the entire course of Rising, I've heard, like, 2 people say that when they were crashing out a little bit, when a Ladiva, like, when they guessed wrong 3 times and died on EXSPD. I've heard, like, 2 people say that at some point, and, like, I get it, she's annoying to fight. Like, if people are saying that about the current Ladiva, imagine if she was actually, like, truly not a balanced character, right? And yeah, a similar thing, you can argue, goes, it's broken to me, darn it, yeah. Ladiva's not the only, I'm not singling out my girl, right? There's a lot of characters like this, and again, I'm very consistent, right? Turn Ladiva into Pot, I mean, yeah, look what they did in Guilty Gear, right? Pot is probably, I'm not super familiar with Guilty Gear, but yeah, Pot is probably the best character in the game, from my understanding, and it does not look good, right? I'm gonna tell you, you know, it seems very funny watching Potemkin do anything, and people fighting Potemkin are very not happy about it, and in very justifiable ways. I would not call this, again, I am a grappler main. I play pretty much only grapplers. Trying to get more characters to master in Granblue is the first time that I've really branched out and tried to play more archetypes. Like, I love grapplers. I play Ladiva here. I'm playing Geef in Street Fighter 6. I play Pot in Strive. I'm only going to pick up City of the Wolves probably because T-Zoc looks really cool, right? I love grapplers, but I can admit people are not being babies when they complain about this archetype, right? At the end of the day, Ladiva's entire thing is that she, you know, tries to fucking goofball her way through her weakness. Like, just avoid the fact that, like, she has bad neutral or bad defense or whatever, and then, you know, it's like, stick out a button, it happens to work. She has some of the highest reward of the game off random hits, right? She does some shit like this to you, and then suddenly, your ass is in the corner, and now, you know, you're guessing free game. And you can just guess right, sure. But you can also just guess wrong, and it feels very funny when you lose to this character, I will say. It feels pretty funny when you win as this character pretty often, too. The meme of grapplers, like, when they guess correctly, they were in your head and they're a genius and they have the read, and when they guess wrong, well, it's a 50-50, what can you do? But yeah, people are not, like, I understand when people don't like fighting this character. I have a lot of fun, so hold that shit, right? I'm gonna loop you 3 times and you're gonna die and it's gonna be great. But, again, it's intrinsically, her balance is based around having a big weakness, which kind of prevents her from being really good by design. So you have to break the limiter to get through that, right? You either have to make her so, like, you have to make her strength so broken, the weakness doesn't matter, or you have to remove her weaknesses. Neither of which is very good with a character design like this, which is essentially designed to remove interaction in any way, shape, or form, at least on offense, right? Like, it does completely reduce the game to a series of guesses. Fun guesses, in my opinion, but guesses. There are other characters like this too, right? Again, like, Ladiva is not, this is the same reason, for example, that, like, over time, this character, right, she is not very good. She's not horrible, by the way, and again, this is a good time to mention the idea that, Fairy she got buffed in 1.5. I'm gonna keep repeating it. I overreacted when I saw the patch notes. A lot of people overreacted. Some people were smart and they knew it right away, right? Fairy got buffed. Fairy is better now than she was in 1.4, in my opinion. Did she lose some pretty big stuff? Yes. But she didn't get buffed enough, quote unquote. They didn't buff Fairy to the point that it's like, oh my god, Fairy mains, we're saved. Because they're never gonna do that. Because this is also, I mean, they did it in vanilla apparently for a while. But, like, you know, with what usually fighting game devs will do their best to avoid this kind of character being very, very strong for kind of the same reasons, right? These are zoners and grapplers are 2 inverses of the same coin. Is it the hardcore archetype characters that are based around a weakness? Character being top 1 usually means those weaknesses literally mean very little. Yes, exactly. And again, when you have a weakness that means when you have, like, weaknesses that are essentially negligible on a guy like Belial, he's good, but, like, yeah. But when you have a weakness that's negligible on a character who has such a insane, jagged strength, it becomes much more of a problem, right? Fairy's very similar. She is built around the idea that, like, yeah, Fairy will have rounds where you literally spend the entire thing at full screen unless you're getting fucking mixed by Hellrat, right? This happens. But Fairy's whole thing is she has 15,000 health. She has a pretty bad reversal. Her defense got made better, actually. They did buff her defense a bit with, like, the side swap, right? But because she can kind of put you in the corner if you fuck up your pressure on her when she's in the corner, and that's very nice for her. It gets her the whole screen back, and she can run her mix and stuff like that. But she's got, you know, she dies very quickly. She's got bad defense. Her anti-airs are horrible. Yeah, all zoners in this game, at least, are designed with a pretty shit anti-air for that reason, because they are designed with weaknesses in mind. How do you make Fairy top tier? Well, it's the exact same thing. You probably guess at this point, right? You either make her zoning so difficult to get through that it doesn't matter that once you get there she dies, or you make her like actually able to box you point blank, right? This is kind of the, and if you look no further than Season 1 JP, right? Season 1 JP in Street Fighter 6, he was basically this problem. Not, he was too good for sure, but like it was the idea of like he had some very good zoning. His zoning is probably not as good as like a lot of the pure zoners in this game, funny enough, but his zoning was really good, and also secretly he just had like some of the best buttons in the game, and he had amnesia, which was one of the best reversals in the game, right? And that was the thing. It's like you get it on JP, and it's like you don't even feel like you're winning. You actually are pretty scared to be in on JP. And that was a bad decision. And they rolled it back. And even now, even though they've kind of rebuffed him, they have still amnesia. Like him having like one of the best reversals, probably the best reversal in the game. They took that shit away real fast, right? Because that is inherently a horrible idea. It's taking away one of the biggest weaknesses of the zoner archetype, is making it so that when people get in on them, they win. That's not a good idea. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the idea, right? In general. So. This is not really, there wasn't like too much of like a look forward here. I just wanted to get out like a sort of organized, I saw people in the disc saying Fairy 2H not being air blockable wouldn't make this character crazy. Would you say 1.0 Nier was in the same boat? Okay, so 1.0 Nier is a little different. We can talk about 1.0 Nier if you want. Nier is a little different in the sense that like her archetype doesn't really matter. So funny enough, Nier is actually an example sort of what I was talking about with the first way you could make Ladiva very broken. Because people didn't really like to hear this before Nier got nerfed, but Nier, pre-patch Nier, especially once they removed her DP, right? Nier had, or like her comboing off DP, Nier had significant weaknesses, actually, right? Having 15,000 health is not nothing, right? And she had pretty middling defense, not bad. She had some of the best normals in the game to match out with. But like, she had relatively middling defense. Those aren't huge weaknesses, but for like a character that is undisputed top 1, it's like more of a weakness than like Belial has, or like that Siegfried had, or that anyone else in that tier had. It's just that her strengths were so overwhelmingly powerful that it didn't really matter at all. Right, because she did the highest damage in the game on average. She had looping. Talk about weak defense with a reversal. When they removed her comboing off DP, when she had her comboing off DP, but yeah. People, when they tell me that Sieg's weakness was that he's slow, I mean, it is, yes. If there's any balancing factor to Siegfried, it is that. That's not true. It's just that it's not that relevant in the grand scheme of things, right? He's still very good. But yeah, so Nier is kind of that first example, pre-patch Nier, is that example of like, her strengths were so ungodly strong that like clearly Nier is designed with a weakness in mind, in that she's, worse when Death isn't around, and yeah, she's not super good at getting people off her in the corner. But it just doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because she had looping 50-50s, the best use skills in the game, the best Oki in the game, the best pressure in the game, the highest damage in the game, right? Mix in a game that by and large didn't have mix, and it was the best mix in the game. Who cares? She had the best way to deal with BC in the game, the best way to deal with throw in the game, so who gives a fuck, right? So again, 1.0 Nier, that pre-patch Nier that everyone just despised, is very similar to what, in many ways, a top-tier Ladiva would look like, right? In that first case, where you just buff her strengths to the moon to the point that it doesn't matter what weaknesses she has, right? One example of that is an old Melty where Hime has slow normals and non-existent health, but also amazing mix, zoning, rush down, a fast DP, actual flight. Yeah, exactly. I really wonder how she made it through QC in the first place. Yeah, I mean, I've already made a video on this, but like, wow, 1.0 Nier, if we like teleport, like give Elsa like no game knowledge, but just Nier knowledge, just Nier tech knowledge, and put Elsa back in 1.0, and like, no one is gonna win anything except other Nier players who she shares that tech with. But yes, anyway, Nier is actually a very good example of this, right? So. This is all to say, I guess if there is a point to this video besides just like me wanting, this is something that I bring up a lot. QA is very difficult, especially for fighting games. I mean, yes, I agree, and puppet characters are hard to balance and things like that. But wow, right? Listen, I will do nothing but I praise the Grand Blue devs all the time. I talk about the 1.5 patch is like my favorite patch that I've ever maybe seen in a fighting game. I talk about how I love the way they're balancing this game. They're nerfing Brave counter, not exactly in the way that I want it in season 2, but like they are nerfing Brave counter seemingly. I'm very happy with the Grand Blue devs. But at the same time, I'm not just going to sit here and suck their dick. Nier is like the worst mistake I've ever seen, right? In knowing what we know, holy fuck, fellas, what were you thinking, right? Like they didn't make like Nier a little too good. 1.0 Nier is so good, there is no tier list, right? There is like, in actuality, if we had the tech, there is no tier list in Grand Blue. It's Nier, S+++, and everyone else in D tier. Belial and Fairy are the same strength, right? So like, I will have to be like, what the fuck were we doing, guys? But you know, but yeah, if there is sort of one point to this, I'm probably going to be dropping this video a little bit before we get the patch notes for season 2. The idea here, besides just like consolidating a point that I make often in like separate videos into one main kind of discussion point, is that when you see the patch notes in season 2, you are probably not going to see big fairy buffs. You are probably not going to see big Ladiva buffs. You're probably not going to see, like, you know, Vasaraga might get nerfed, even though he's probably not. I think Voss is like a solid character right now, but he's not broken by any means. But I would more so expect Voss to get nerfed than buffed in the next patch, if I had to guess, right? Even like, there are going to be characters better than Vasaraga that don't get nerfed as hard as he does, probably, right? But at the same time, you might see, you might not see Belial get hit as hard. You might not see Siegfried get hit as hard. You might not see like a character like Beatrix get hit as hard, because these are characters that essentially are, in a way, more okay to be strong. Now we can tune them down a bit for sure, right? We can tune them down a bit. Belial's fine. But like we can tune, your Beatrice, your Luciliuses, your Catalinas, things like that. We can tune them down for sure. But like they are probably less likely to get shot in the head compared to a character like Nier, right? And it's not just because of the power level difference. It's because of like the inherent unhealthiness of having a character with that design be as good as they are, right? So when you look at the season 2 patch notes and you don't see, if you're like a Beatrice a word and a half, yeah. If you look at the season 2 patch notes and you don't see huge Matera buffs, don't be surprised, right? If you do, be surprised. I'd be very surprised if any of these, like if Matera, you can clip this later and make fun of me, but like if Matera, Ladiva, I'm gonna say Lwain, Fairy, Vasaraga, Yuel, Nier fits in here too. Avatar, I would actually also expect to get nerfed. That's probably about where it's, and Vayne, I guess, too, right? If any of these characters got huge buffs, I will be very, very surprised, right? You think Versuja might get tuned? I'm not sure. Versuja is weird in that people think she's a lot better than I do, so I'm not sure yet, right? I'm like, maybe Versuja's a current, people, sorry, my pop filter fell off my mic. Some people are not very happy with Versuja's existence. Maybe Versuja is an example of what I'm talking about, where she's supposed to be this character that has these like big holes in like, having not the best necessarily ways to get people off her and stuff like that, and like no meterless reversal, and like being a little slower and having like a bad 6XL and stuff. But, like maybe her strengths are so overpowered it doesn't matter and she's like top 5. I don't know. I don't think so. Versuja to me feels, this might be more blasphemous these days. Like people did not disagree with this as much when she like first came out. Maybe she's been developed and I'm just missing out. But Versuja to me feels more like actually a very good example of about exactly how strong you can make a character like this before things break. Like I've always thought Versuja was like solid, like he's like top half of the cast, pretty good, not top tier. I don't think she's necessarily sniffing at it even, but like pretty strong. But she also felt like, pretty interactive in the sense that like her strengths are very strong, but her weaknesses are pretty easy to put her in those positions, right? So who knows? Maybe I'm wrong, but that has been my kind of impression on Versuja the whole time. She might be a little too good. Maybe you have to lower her reward in the mid-screen like a little, but I don't know. But yeah, that's kind of the point there. I as a Ladiva main, I would like some quality of life stuff for Ladiva, but I'm not surprised they don't make her good. Because trust me, you would not have a good time with this. If you disagree, by the way, let me know. It's not like I'm fairly confident in this. It's a take that I've had for a while, but like I'd be very interested to see if someone expecting Lucy nerfs. Yeah, I mean, I still expect, like, even though I can say like, oh, like Belial, Catalina, Lucy, like they're not inherently like horrible characters to be top tier. I definitely expect a little bit of like Lucilius. Everyone besides Belial, I do like expect to get tuned down a bit. Belial's probably fine, but like Lucilius, Catalina, I still say Zeta is in that discussion too. I don't care about her tournament results. Grimnir, things like that. I would definitely expect to get tuned down a little bit, right? I'm missing people in there too. Like there's someone in that's not the whole thing. But, somehow Versuja's pretty safe doing close range spot dodge. Yeah, I mean having a good BC bait, having good offense, is not necessarily that bad, right? I want to see a lot of character changes for Season 2 to start the system changes, then see how those affect everyone. Maybe, but I do, if the only system changes are like, counter hit, HDP, and Brave counter being nerfed, then like, I would like to see a big shakeup with Season 2 for sure, right? Just, again, I don't expect that shakeup to be, hey guys, Ladiva and Fairy are top 1 and 2 now. That will be very bad design, in my opinion. Yeah, that about does it, I think. I want to talk about something else after this, I think. Because this next thing is gonna be something I've been forming in my head a bit, but I want to talk about why I've actually kind of changed my mind on how defense works in this game a little bit recently. At least in how you can evaluate a character's defense. But yeah, we'll talk about that actually next here, because this is something that I'm quite interested in.